Okay, we're live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest, a returning guest. We spoke exactly 30 days ago about a book he published in 2020. The title of that book was The Three Commas Club, a true story of sex trafficking, pedophilia, and murder. Really a fascinating book. Highly recommend people go back and check out that interview and the book. But we're going to talk about a ostensibly fictional book, a mystery novel, as it's stated on the cover of this book, titled Hunter's Moon. And again, his name is Jack Watts, and his website is mcgeeandme.net. It's mcgeeandme.net. And Watts is also very active on Facebook.com, so you can check out a lot of his stuff on there. I'm going to mention some of his other books. He's a very prolific author. I think he said last time he's published 26 books now, and this is a really fascinating book. I was reading through it. I was smiling and nodding along, like I understood a lot. He can talk more about that. Some of his other books are Retaking the USA from Darkness and Depravity, 2021. Hi, my name is Jack, One Man Story of the Tumultuous Road to Sobriety, 2014. Also, Recovering from Religious Abuse, 11 Steps to Spiritual Freedom, that was 2012. And but he has many other titles at his website, so we can talk about that. So Jack Watts, welcome to the show. Thanks for returning.
Well, it's good to be back. I mean, I had a good time last time, so this is doubling down.
Good. Well, congratulations on this book. I mean, it's you presented as a novel. Can you talk about your other books and what led you to write Hunter's Moon?
I can. Actually, when I wrote my memoir, Hi, My Name is Jack, which, by the way, it was won the Inspirational Memoir of the Year award 10 years ago, but it took me a year to get all of the releases for it in order for Simon & Schuster to publish it. And, because all of the libel laws and defamation laws are really not to protect the innocent, but to protect the guilty from being exposed. So, I said, you know what? I am not going to write true things anymore. I'm going to write fiction. And I had listened to all the books on tape for, what J.K. Rowling had done on Harry Potter and had seen the movies and everything. I thought she kept a narrative for 7 books. And I thought, rather than just write a book on fiction, why don't I try and do 3 books? And I did, and kept the characters going. And Hunter's Moon is actually the 7th in my series, my Moon series, and the latest one. And I chose to keep it in that framework. It's to have a good audience for it, one, but also it just seemed to fit. My characters are Georgians, and the story in Hunter's Moon is really what happened in the last election and why Georgia was.
Right. Well, can you, because I didn't know, I saw this, I knew that you had written, sorry to interrupt, but I knew that you had written this book. Can you talk about the first book in the 7-book series and kind of lay out some of those characters and just give a slow overview of what led you in those books to Hunter's Moon, please? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I can. The first one is Full Moon Frenzy, and the characters are a couple of people that are physicians in the emergency room, and a alcoholic assistant district attorney, and his name's Sean Kincannon. And when I was in high school and we would go out, I grew up in Boston and the suburb of Newton. I said we'd go out and we'd find these girls and we'd tell them, that we were names that weren't ours. And I always took the name Sean Kincannon. And so, because I just loved it, I thought very strong. And I'm Irish anyway, but Sean Kincannon. Well, when my friends, if they found these girls first, they would call me up and tell me to come, and they would introduce me as Pretty Boy Sabarisi, which when you're 15, 16 years old, you do not want to be called Pretty Boy Sabarisi. So in this first novel, the arch villain is Pretty Boy Sabarisi, and the hero is this drunk Irishman, Sean Kincannon. And it really just kind of, in some ways, follows some of the stuff that I did, because my memoir, Hi, My Name is Jack, is kind of code for Hi, My Name is Jack, and I'm alcoholic, and I'm a recovering alcoholic, which I don't mind saying. And the whole book is about that and my story, and it's pretty involved and pretty good.
Gotcha.
I've been sober for 28 years, which is
congratulations.
Yeah. Well, if you're Irish, that's a long time, but it isn't part of my life anymore. So I kept the character of Sean Kincannon as the heroic person, and he marries this physician named Marla Dean, and they become essentially like the Nick and Nora Charles. Do you remember Nick and Nora Charles from the Thin Man series in the 1930s?
Sounds really familiar.
And so I bring in some of the historical things like that, and it's a lot of fun to read, and a lot of people have read them. But it goes from one episode after the other, and frankly, I've done a screenplay for a miniseries to try and see if I can sell this thing, because it's good. It gets into some political things that are real, and Hunter's Moon is real. Now it's a novel, and it's very interpretive, because that's the great thing about a novel. You can interpret, and it's really based on what I saw, and I live in Atlanta. You remember seeing those the video things of the women who were pulled out the suitcases and had all the fraudulent votes, and not a thing ever happened to any of them.
Yes, I followed that very closely. Followed Georgia very closely.
Yeah. Nothing happened to any of them, and I started, what the hell? What's going on around here? It didn't make sense, and when I saw what the FBI was doing, which was nothing, which I have come to recognize from my other book that we talked about the last time.
Right. The Three Commas Club, yes.
The Three Commas Club, that it isn't just Comey and Peter Strzok and all those that are corrupt. The corruption in our FBI seems to me as if it goes all the way through. And when I was growing up, one of my favorite shows was the FBI with Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. Loved it, believed in the FBI, always did. So to the point where in the Three Commas Club, I went and had a full sit-down interview with two FBI agents at the direction of the U.S. attorney in the state of Georgia.
Interesting.
And so I thought I'd get somewhere with it. And then when I saw what happened, and I started saying, wait a minute, this just isn't right. And there were some things that were really so askew that I thought, I've got to write about them, but I'm going to write it in a way that I can put it out there and not have to worry about getting killed or worry about defamation. So it opens up where the where the governor's daughter is talking to her boyfriend as he's driving to a political event near Savannah. And then all of a sudden the line goes dead. And what has happened is it appears that this young man had an accident and was killed in it. But the metal in his car melted. Gasoline doesn't burn hot enough to warp metal. This meant that he was taken out. And I strongly suspect, that thermite was involved. And thermite is the explosive that they use in drones. If you're going to take out a tank, they use a missile and has thermite. And I mean, just like
right, it burns at like 3,000 Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
it melts metal. Yeah, melts.
So this boy's dead, but for what purpose? In my estimation, it was to keep the governor of Georgia, who I believe is corrupt. I voted for him. I campaigned for him. He was, was certainly a whole lot better than Stacey Abrams, but it seems to me as if the leadership in the Republican Party in the state of Georgia was complicit in the voter fraud to deprive Trump of the 16 electoral votes of this state. And, it's never been righted. So
It's incredible, really.
Yeah. When this happened, there was a GBI detective who was put on the case to investigate it. And I make him part of the plot of this Hunter's Moon. And he's the one that kind of spots that it's thermite, and he gets close enough to it that he is Hillaried, essentially. He was executed and made to look like it was a suicide. And
and the death that you have of this young man, it reminds me of the Hastings death back in 2013. If you remember that, it happened here in LA, where like the engine block literally left the car. Like the car before, if you remember that death in Los Angeles, the engine block came out before the car came to rest against the palm tree on, was it?
It was
Highland
it was a Maserati or a Ferrari, one of the two.
I think it was a high-end Mercedes-Benz, like a 350. It might have been.
But I'll tell you one thing that I absolutely remember about that. It was that the engineers at Mercedes-Benz saying that could not have happened that way. There is no Mercedes-Benz that would have the engine, fly out no matter what happened.
There are pictures of that engine block sitting on Highland. Like it's the huge engine block. I'm not saying the entire metal part, the heaviest part of the whole car got separated from it. And nothing happened. Nothing happened about that. That was just a car crash. So,
yeah. This happened in a little town called Pooler, Georgia, Pooler. It's a suburb of Savannah, and a very, very nice little area. But the purpose for this kid's death was to, essentially, in my estimation, a threat to keep the governor in line, because he was having second thoughts and balking at following through with what was happening. And it was like, your daughter's next.
It's an intimidation, right? Yeah.
It's the intimidation. And, all of this stuff was just kind of like little on the surface and people saying little things, and then it disappeared. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to write about this, and I'm going to put it in a framework that makes sense. And then based on this, they're out of Washington was a dirty trick squad. Now, the dirty trick squad is real. And these are renegade, essentially, people from the FBI, the CIA, DEA, and firearms and alcohol. What is that? Firearms and alcohol?
BATF or
ATF,
ATF,
yeah.
yeah.
And all of them were under the direction of a man who literally was one of the most powerful people in the Department of Justice. Now, I didn't name this man as Rod Rosenstein, but I believe it to be him.
I mean, yeah, I just did like a show on the FBI under Hoover. They were involved in all kinds of black bag jobs. They were above the law. There was no real oversight. They'd sneak into people's houses, intimidate people. They were bugging tons of people. They knew a lot of these people's sex life. They were doing it to Martin Luther King. And actually, I mean, they had videos that they would share with LBJ. I mean, the reason I'm saying this is 50 years ago, so you have no idea what's happening now. But they had videos, or they had audio of MLK. They would share with LBJ, and they would pass it around like an inside joke. So these are huge, constitutional Fourth Amendment violations happening 50 years ago. So you can only imagine what's going on now. And
well,
I think.
To just kind of add to that, the Kennedy papers are supposed to have been revealed about 2 months ago, and said that they were scheduled to become public, and they postponed making them public because of national security issues. What in the hell can something from 1963 have to do with national security issues in 2021? Nothing. But who they involve definitely would be problematic within the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, probably both. So we're dealing with people who are at a level of corruption and lawlessness that is unheard of. And of course, right now, and all of this kind of dovetails into my 3 Commas Club thing too. We have the beginning of this Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and right to begin with, before the trial even started, she asked that none of the prurient, that all of the prurient stuff be redacted from the public record, and the judge agreed. Plus, this is something most people don't know. At the behest of the Biden administration, Chuck Schumer nominated the judge in charge of this case to the Second Circuit. So he's getting to, they did that last week.
Right. What timing? Incredible, huh?
So this is in an effort to protect these pedophiles, these sex traffickers, from both the Republican and the Democratic Party, because the one thing that they all have in common, and I go into great detail about this in Hunter's Moon, is that the loyalty isn't like honor among thieves. It's that I have this on you and you have this on me, and we will only trust people that we know that we could take them down and they could take us down. So this cabal of perverts is running our dadgum country.
Yeah. And they're incentivized to stay there too. So they're able to stay there through that. And if you look at, I don't know if you remember, Barney Franks had that whole male hustling prostitution ring, allegedly, that he was operating. He said, if you bust me, I will release all of my information. This is before Epstein. I think this is 2005 or something like that.
I remember that specifically. I grew up in Massachusetts,
Okay.
so I remember Barney Frank, and boy, you talk about a despicable human being. He was like one of the worst, but he did threaten to do that, and he absolutely shut down all of the criticism about himself.
Right. And I don't even think the person who was associated with him went to jail. Like, I think that he was operating out of Barney Frank's house, and there are pictures of Barney Frank with what's the guy from Pizzagate? Alephantis. So he was associated in the same circle that Alephantis was. There's pictures of him, and I think his Alephantis boyfriend at the time was a guy from Media Matters. And these are the people who were shaping public opinion. There's pictures of them at some place in Rehoboth. They used to go to Rehoboth. But yeah, you do talk. I mean, you got to get this book. It's really incredible because you're super well informed. I was just smiling and nodding along. I mean, I think I said that, but you talk a lot about Haitian trafficking, Haitian things, associations, black bag jobs, kind of how people work up in the system. I mean, I think that's really all true. You're right. We're kind of run by a kind of criminal cabal. So.
And these unaccompanied children are there for one purpose, and that's to provide, and that's, I mean, they are sexual tools, boys and girls, for these people. And they aren't just Democrats.
Right.
The Republicans are equally as complicit. In one sense, some of these Republicans, if you ask me, are worse human beings, because at least these Democrats are fairly open about being reprobates. Some of these people that I'm kind of talking about a little bit, and we're America first, we're for God, country, and well, they aren't, and they just use that to manipulate people like you and me and everybody that's listening to this podcast. But here's the thing: Americans are becoming awakened. We don't have many people anymore who are completely fooled. Well, there are a lot of people that are completely fooled, but I mean, people who want to know can know.
I agree.
And there are things out there for them to learn, for them to recognize. And here, with this Ghislaine Maxwell thing coming out, just the day that the trial starts, Dorsey resigns from Twitter. Unanticipated, unexplained. Well, it's time to move on from the original. Well, there's something involved in this. And just by the way, all of these names in the Ghislaine thing, which would be some of the people that I'm referring to in Hunter's Moon, were supposed to be released over a month ago.
Right.
Have we seen even one? No.
It's so important in the public interest too. I mean, it's definitely in the public interest. It's in
the public interest. Why aren't we seeing that? And if we're not seeing that, who has the authority to keep us from seeing it? What is it? How is this even happening? I mean, it was scheduled to be released and it wasn't. Probably the same. I don't have a name, but probably the same kind of people that are saying, well, it's a national security issue for us to, to keep what really happened to JFK under wraps 58 years later. 58 years.
It's incredible.
I mean, there aren't any nuclear weapons from 1963 that are still in operation. There aren't any, other than the B-52 Fortress, which, has never gone out of date. There's no military hardware from that era that exists, not just in the United States, but in any of our major competitors, for Russia or China. You might go to Uganda and they still have an M1 like the ones that we did when we were in ROTC, but not much more than that. So anyway, in the Hunter's Moon, I actually use some of the language and some of the things from some depositions that were given by people who were in the Dirty Trick Squad and left it. And they gave the deposition so that they could still be alive. And, and interestingly, just like I did with the Three Commas Club, I have a version that has the real names that I've given to some people that will protect me from getting killed.
One thing I wanted to add too, Jack, is that if you remember the plumbers too under Nixon, totally illegal, black bag jobs, CIA agents. I think it was Howard Hunt, E. Howard Hunt, or H. Howard Hunt, or whatever his name is, a total underground operative. And probably was at the JFK assassination on November 22nd, 1963, as one of the tramps, right? One of the three tramps, all the way around. So these guys they're around. You may know their name. I may not, but these types of operatives are within both party systems. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I do. And, they, a lot of it, when they say it's underground, they're talking literally underground with tunnels and things like that. Now, I was in politics for a while in the early 80s, and I rode on the carts that would take you from the White House to the Senate, or to the House, or over to the executive building, or to the Treasury. These tunnels were massive.
And well-worn tunnels too. Some are less used than others, but the tunnels between the House offices buildings for the House of Representatives and the Senate to the congressional building are very well worn and very well used for people who don't know, or if they haven't been to DC.
I think it was interesting. The guy that I was working for was running for Congress, and Jake Garn, who was the chairman of the Senate Banking Committee, was his best friend. So just by being, associated with Jake Garn, who ended up flying into space, he was the senator that did that. We had PACs that were very interested in the candidate, although we lost. We were big shots in Washington, just even going in there. So we would go down with him, and he would, it was like a golf cart, these golf carts, and I remember Jesse Helms was, he was quite a figure as a senator, and nobody would get on one of these carts in front of Jesse, because he was such a bad driver with them. They were afraid they're going to get killed. Kind of a little interesting little anecdote from something that's 40 years old. But of course, that has no interest in some sense, just like, the JFK hiding those documents that, that talk about who was behind his assassination, and probably his brothers and Martin Luther King Jr., all of them. Right. So that's how that worked. At any rate, with the Hunter's Moon, I go into pretty good detail about explaining how this works towards keeping the secrets. And everybody is, I mean, everybody is afraid of everybody else that that are these people that are corrupt. And of course, this is they're all rich. Yeah, they make 150, $200,000 a year as a congressman or senator, and they go in and 20 years later when they leave, they're worth $40 million. And you say, well, how does that happen? Where did they get that kind of money? And it's all based on the corruption. And I'll give you yours, you protect me, you give me mine. And here they've just brought this Judge Nathan into the fold with the Ghislaine Maxwell thing by giving him a seat on the Second Circuit. Which
right. It's a she that might kind of looks like a he actually, but
yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. But it is incredible. Like right before, the signaling is so obvious. It's not done after, it's done before. It's just off the charts kind of
blatant. It's so blatant.
So blatant.
They used to, be fearful of exposure, but now with the complicit press, they don't even bother. They don't have to worry about that even in the least. They just go ahead and essentially is everybody doing evil and what is right in their own eyes. And the people that are specifically suffering the most are these children who are being raped. After that, it goes down to where people like us, we're kept in huge debt to pay for this corruption and to allow them, and they believe they have a right to do this. They think that this is they're smart and we're not.
Right. So they justify it through certain ways. Yes.
Yes. And because they're wise and there are betters. I mean, in a certain sense, it's like they are titled nobility, yes, but it's self-proclaimed titled nobility.
It's incredible. Yeah, it really is. And Ghislaine Maxwell's super corrupt. There were tons of stories about 12-year-old kids from Haiti and from Venezuela. There's stories of very young children being trafficked. Not like the cover story of 16-year-old girls, which is terrible, but really young kids moving from Mexico to New Mexico. And a lot of that stuff has not come forward. It's not come out. She sat down with Virginia Giuffre and Jeffrey Epstein and asked her to have a baby for them. So they were going to take the baby for God knows what other stuff. And there's pictures of her with very elite people. I think it was Elaine, what's her name? Elaine something, Steve Jobs' ex-wife. Like she's at the island. Like these are world powerful people. It's no joke. I mean, Epstein is with Bill Gates. These are the top tier they were targeting. Yeah, so really incredible stuff, and it's all being kept from the public, and so many people are involved. Stephanopoulos or Stephanopoulos has had lunch with Epstein at his place. These guys corrupted the media too. That's why the media is crap. It's garbage because, in part, I mean, this is just one kind of operation. What about the other things that we never heard about? What about other operators? We don't know all of them, but they've been around for a long. You can talk about Spence, the affair out of Nebraska, and all these other characters. This is just a huge thing, and it's really important. The media is going to drop the ball on Ghislaine Maxwell. They're going to try to bamboozle and befuddle people. You can just tell right now that the whole fix is trying to be put in. Yeah, it's terrible. So, but let's get back to your book. You talk about some Haitian stuff too, right?
Actually, the book before this dealt with that specifically, and with what they use these young children for, and it includes things that people are. I mean, it gets so dark. with the use of adrenochrome and things of that nature to, terrify these children, and then, essentially sap their adrenal glands and use the what they get to keep them young. It's really funny. You see these pictures of a movie star and says, "Well, this was her in 1970, and look how good she looks 50 years later." Well, it's a lot of it is because of what they've done with these kids, and it's a little beyond. I wouldn't even go into it. It's just, just even learning about it took me months about reading about this stuff before I was finally even willing to admit to myself that it was possible and that these things were happening, because the depravity was so extensive. And this goes not just, and it goes beyond politics, to where some of our religious leaders and some of these evangelists, and particularly some of the ones that household names on TV, are engaged in these type of things themselves, and won't speak the truth because they are complicit. This is evil to the level that it's hard to actually fathom. And the people that are listening to this, this couldn't really be true, Jack. You're a conspiracy. And you know what? I'm not. I never thought. I'm just a guy, and but once I started writing about some of these things and got into it and started seeing some things, it has become very clear to me that we have to absolutely positively make a stand for righteousness, or no matter what, the nation that we leave to our grandchildren will not be the one that we inherited from our grandparents, because we have deteriorated so much. And that's kind of what all Hunter's Moon is about, is telling people, showing people how this operates and how they manipulate. And I put it in a a fictional setting, so that it's a page turner, and I'm at least a decent writer. So
really good. I really enjoyed reading through it. Yeah. It's like Mystery Babylon. Like, you're stuck in something where you can't see behind the curtain. You just see people not moving. Like, even the 2020 election was so weird, just watching people BS and not move. Like, even senators, nobody complained. It was just a complete befuddlement. Like, what are these leaders doing? Very few people complained about the obvious vote fraud. Just massive vote fraud. It's just how do you explain that? Right.
Right. There are half a dozen that really kind of are pretty strong on this. Jim Jordan certainly is, and as a congressman, Johnny Radcliffe was, and as the DNI, he absolutely knows, and so does General Mike Flynn. That's why they had to take him down. And Trump, God love him, didn't. He had too many people who literally are traitors involved in his camp, so that he was getting advice from people who it seemed like they wanted to do the right thing, but in reality they wanted to do the exact wrong thing, and did.
He made terrible hires, a lot of terrible hires. Even Pence himself was weak, spineless. In my opinion. So
who was this? I didn't hear it.
His vice president, Mike Pence.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, Mike Pence is one of the people that is that I refer to essentially in Hunter's Moon. I think it isn't that he's weak. I think that he is not even close to the person he says he is.
Interesting.
I mean, I think that he is every bit as evil as the people who are on trial right now. I mean, this is a truly, truly devious, deceptive, bad guy. I'm not guessing about this.
I believe you. I mean, that's the whole mystery.
And
it's
you know
like,
what? There are folks that say, oh, this is, they're going, he's going to be this and he's going to be that, and the Republican Party is hierarchy is all behind Pence for 2024. You know what? He'll end up being exactly like Jeb Bush, an absolute zero. And you know why? Because people like you and me know who he really is, and people will to us. And it's kind of like, yeah, you're right about that, Jack. Yeah, you're right about that, William. He ain't who he says he is, and we're not going to have it again. And we are not going to stand for this nonsense and allow this nation to go down the drain.
it's unbelievable. I mean, we have a guy on. I mean, he should be playing shuffleboard in Palm Springs. I wouldn't trust him to keep score, but this guy is not competent. It's just, I mean, and that's the whole thing. He didn't win 81 million votes. So and that whole thing that happened in Afghanistan where you leave $80 billion worth of equipment to people who hate your guts and you just keep on going. That's weird as that.
That was not incompetence. That was his payback to China. I mean, they've given billions of dollars to his family, and to leave them Bagram Air Force Base without destroying anything, to leave them the equipment, to abandon what's it, bauxite or what is the thing that you have to have for for electric cars, and they've got 80%.
Oh, like all the minerals and stuff. Yeah, it's a very mineral rich country. Yeah.
Yeah, that this was his payback to China. So their investment in him was a smart one from their perspective. Yeah. And just by the way, just keep your eye on what's happening with Taiwan, because that's I don't believe it's Ukraine where there's where there's going to be real conflict, but the Chinese want to take down Taiwan. And of course, they've wanted to since Chiang Kai-shek in 1948. But Taiwan has a very strong military, and the United States has a treaty with them that is, if they're attacked, it's an attack on the United States, just like NATO. So we'll see what Biden could do to get around that, because that's the key, and that's where we're going to see where some of this stuff, where these people who've been paid off by the Chinese,
right.
We'll see what they do. So that's all ahead.
I mean, did you ever find any connection between Hunter, whatever his name, Robert Hunter Biden, and Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell?
I don't know that I have seen that one. That's I tell you one thing. A couple of years ago, it was like, okay, what is this about Hunter? Is this real? So I took one time, I went on the dark web to see, and I saw things that had never even entered my mind. And I kind of wish I hadn't, but Hunter Biden is the absolute reprobate that everybody considers him to be. There is not, there's nothing about him that's worthwhile. And, he, look at right now, he's getting a pass.
Oh, he's getting a pass. There's no question. Tons of pass. I mean, his laptop is so incriminating. There's problems with him and his brother's daughter, or used to be, according to his own wife. So, and I think she was 14 or 15 at the time. So he would fit right in with this whole Hunter's Moon thing.
Well, there's also problems with that poor girl and her grandfather, the president of the United States, not by election, but by usurpation.
Yeah, it's just incredible times. It's like some people are sleepwalking too, which is so strange.
And you know, and I find that a lot of my Christian friends are, you know, just willing to give a pass to all of this stuff, and I don't see how they can do that. That's you know, and of course that's what I write about the most is how people of faith have got to stand for righteousness and not accept and be passive to depravity. How do you do that?
The worst kind of depravity. Like you're watching innocent kids like be trafficked. Like what's going on? Why isn't that a major aspect of the public church of any denomination? Catholic, evangelical, Baptist, Protestant, whatever, Lutherans. Why is it? I mean, it's incredible. It's happening all. I mean, it's, I don't know. It's so crazy. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap it up, or anything like I missed? I mean, it's really an interesting book. I know you know so much because it's reflected in this quote fictional unquote book. But it's great to talk with you again as well too, because I feel like I'm, you know, you're so well informed. Like I can bounce these ideas off you. What would you like to add? Where's the best place for people to get the book?
Amazon. All of my stuff's on Amazon. It's easy, you know, it's the easiest place and easy thing to do. And you know, I write a lot of stuff on Facebook. So it's, you know, Jack Watts, WATTS. I mean, people want to follow me. I've got 25,000 people that follow me on Facebook, which, you know, in like Instagram, that wouldn't be a big number, but on Facebook it really is. And you know, I put up stuff every day. I put up inspirational things for people because they got to have things to just, you know, give them faith and encouragement when all they see is darkness and doom.
Yeah.
And you know, we're at this. This is you know, for such a time as this, we've been called to be who we are, and this is a big deal. And it's a great time to be alive because, you know, what we're doing is purposeful. And it doesn't take a superstar. It just takes a lot of people just doing what God calls them to do and saying, I will not participate in this. I will not demur. I will not refrain from saying what is true. I'm going to stand my ground, and I'll stand with this ground with my brothers and sisters in Christ throughout this country.
Amen. Amen to that. Great book, great discussion. Again, the title is Hunter's Moon. It's a mystery novel. You can get it on Amazon. His website is mcgeeandme.net. So you can check out his writings and his links there. He's also active on Facebook under Jack Watts, 2 T's, GJACKWATTS. Thanks so much.
Just one other thing. I did leave up on my mcgeeandme.net the 3 Commas Club as a free download for anybody that wants to read about the sex trafficking, pedophilia that's going on. It's a true story, and you know, they can get a free download. And I'm going to leave it up for a little bit just so that they can do that. Because I'd rather have them know what's going on than make a couple of bucks.
Good for you. Well, that's great. Thanks so much for your time. It's great to talk to you. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely.
All right, take care. Stay there. All right, that's perfect.